CanPL.ca Newsroom for this week. Marty, Thompson, Charlie O'Connor-Clark, the Canadian Premier League's preeminent country music podcast.
Oh my God! Really?
After last week, a lot of people interested into Anthony Novak's music taste. We have to get that playlist from him. We got lots of comments on that. We have to get that beer playlist, and we'll be sure to flip it on to you.
Yeah, I can't wait for that.
I don't know any other beer songs, but I'm sure there's tons.
I would say so. Yes.
Especially in the country music genre. We're going to have Jordan Webb of Atletico Ottawa on later. Talk about moving to the CPL, moving back to Canada after almost a decade in Singapore. Tons of stories there in terms of his playing days. We're excited for that conversation. But the big one this week, David Clanachan, the commissioner of the CPL, coming out and essentially giving us a date on top of a date on top of a date. May 15th is when the next update will come for the 2021 CPL season. Now, whether or not that's a bubble tournament or whether that's sort of a full-fledged season, obviously that's something that they're trying to work out right now with the Canadian Premier League. But I mean, it's funny. We were just sort of texting earlier this week, Charlie, and you said, it was like, I kind of forget this is a soccer league at this point, just because there haven't been that many games. Like it'll just feel so weird to see games happen again. Is that strange to say?
Yeah. I mean, it'll be amazing. It'll definitely be awesome. And it'll, make it all worthwhile. Yeah. I mean, I think nobody's really surprised, right? Because obviously we knew that the league was aiming for that Victoria Day weekend start date. Unfortunately, just the chips didn't really fall that way, right? I mean, because at least in Ontario here, we're still deep in a third wave of the pandemic, and it just wasn't quite going to work out. So we pushed back a little. I'm sure that there's a few different options on the table for when we're going to see some soccer again, but it should be probably sooner than later. I mean, I think probably in the next little while we'll have an actual, kind of firm framework to look ahead to.
Something to bite everyone's, teeth into is all that we're really looking to at this point. Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned, like Ontario, we've had it pretty bad here in terms of lockdown, and even just this past week seeing Halifax and Nova Scotia go under sort of similar restrictions for a short 2-week window, and the Wanderers being unable to train, and then out west, Alberta seeing some case jumps. So it's across the board right now. But I mean, again, it just comes down to where and how, and just give us something. Just give us something. So we'll be looking forward to that. What are you most looking forward to when the CPL comes back? Can you give me like a player, a team,
a player? I mean, I was going to say what I'm most looking forward to is being like objectively proven wrong rather than just have people tell me I'm wrong about all of the things I say about these teams and players, because it's so much more fulfilling when you say something about a team and then they're just absolutely not what you expected. Then you can see with your own eyes that you're wrong, and it's really great. What am I looking forward to? I'm really, really, really interested to see York United this year.
Yeah.
Extremely different roster, lots of new players. I mean, we still don't necessarily know exactly what they'll look like. But I mean, they're going to have pretty snazzy new kits as well.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun. Yeah, I think if there's a team I'm most interested in seeing get on the pitch, it might be them.
That's a great shout. Start the York United era, wherever that is, and in what way. We know that Angus McNabb, their CEO and president, is doing some wheeling and dealing. So keep an eye out on that. There might be some more moves here in the coming weeks. Speaking of moves, and in the last couple of weeks. Geez, I can't talk today. We'll do some quick catch up on some signings in the CPL. First off, let's start with Ottawa, who will be joining Jordan Webb in that attacking lineup. Brian Wright and Jean-Claude Lawson were the two signings this week. Brian Wright was a former MLS Super Draft pick. Jean-Claude, it comes with another sort of interesting set of a different set of skills and a lot of pedigree. What can you tell us about these guys?
I think they're both pretty interesting signings. I mean, it's hard to get a huge read, but they come from levels of the game that have translated pretty decently to the CPL before. Lawson is one I'm pretty interested in. I think I'll be honest, I hadn't really heard of him until we started getting around to working on this signing. But he's the leading goal scorer in Detroit City FC history.
What a club,
cool
eh?
to me.
Detroit City is an incredible club.
Oh yeah,
I know some people that are season ticket holders, and what they like the videos that they show me on their phones. It's like, what?
Yeah,
that's
really
crazy.
cool club, really cool club. And whenever you're in a club's record books, that's pretty special. So I think Lawson should be an interesting player. I don't know if we've had players come to the CPL yet from the NISA level.
No,
I can't think of one.
Well, and for maybe a bit of context too, like Detroit would often come into Ontario to play preseason games against League One Ontario outfits. So that kind of gives you like a little bit more of an idea. And I know those games were often quite close. So, and they would obviously be sort of informal friendlies. So yeah, that's maybe comparable to the level, but no, I mean, yeah, I don't think we've seen anyone. I don't think we've seen anyone of that.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting. And Brian Wright, I mean, he's kind of been around the circles for a while. Sort of one of those guys that you might have, if you knew who he was, might have considered him a possible future candidate for the CPL. And Ottawa's probably a pretty good landing spot for a player like that to join the attack. So again, I think Ottawa is kind of building up this roster with a bunch of attackers that maybe fall off the radar a little bit, or aren't necessarily big splash signings, but could actually be really effective at this level.
And then you throw in someone like Ryan Telfer, and I really do like Ottawa's attack. I really do like Ottawa's attack. And believe it or not, they will have one more signing next week. We're not going to tell you who it is. We'll leave it at that. Okay, Pacific FC signing Ollie Bassett, former Aston Villa youth product. Charlie, go ahead.
So he's the first player associated with Aston Villa in the CPL, and therefore immediately my favorite player in the league. I spoke to him yesterday, actually, just for a feature for CanPL.ca. And it's a pretty cool story. I mean, actually, just him getting here was a pretty crazy story. Like he had to take like 4 different flights. He had to quarantine in Mexico for 2 weeks before he could fly to Seattle and then Vancouver, and then he had to quarantine again. Obviously, once he gets into Canada, and he was like on his own for all that as well. So that's a pretty crazy story, and definitely sounds like he's extremely happy to finally be here. I know that he got into training. We were recording on Friday. Yesterday, he got into training on Thursday. And it sounds like he's going to be an interesting player. I mean, he played in England's League 2 when he was like 17, which is it's a very good level. For Yeovil Town, he was excellent in New Zealand. I know that he actually, when he was there, he met a few players that have been through the CPL. I think he played with Stephen Hoyle and Dylan Sacramento down there. And even Ahinga Selemani, who signed for Cavalry this year. They were kind of chatting about the CPL, so that is kind of part of how it all came together. And it sounds like he was one of the better players in that league as well. I think he might have been in a team of the year last year. But yeah, obviously Bassett is still fairly young. He has an amazing pedigree. If you ask me, the greatest pedigree in the world.
Did you ask him about Villa? How much did you talk about Villa? Or did you keep it coy?
No, a little bit. I was kind of off that. I'm like, all right, I am a Villa fan. I got to ask you immediately what it was like being in the Villa Academy. And he was like it sounds pretty great. He said that was where he picked up all his technical ability and so on. He's 2 years younger than Jack Grealish, so I don't know if they might have crossed paths or not there.
Interesting.
Maybe not.
You certainly would hope so. You would certainly hope so.
I would certainly, if anybody who comes within the sphere of influence of Jack Grealish is immediately like 10% at least better at football.
The sphere of influence. What?
So Yeah, Pacific should be as excited as I am.
Yeah, and this seems like a good landing spot
Yeah.
for Bassett, right? Like, and I'm sure he talked a little bit about like his style of play and how he operates, but like it just seems like Pacific. Obviously they have got some international slots available and they've got some roster slots available, but it just seems like a good fit, right?
Yeah, he sounds like a pretty versatile player. Like I think his preferred role is around in the number 10 position, but he was telling me that he's kind of comfortable dropping back a little bit into more of a number 8 role. He can play out wide as well. So I think he's kind of expected to be one of those kind of creative players who's just comfortable with the ball whenever he needs it. He's obviously, I think he's like 5'8" or something like that.
Yeah.
So he might be, that kind of just creative, confident midfielder type who's able to carry the ball through midfield and pick out passes and all that sort of stuff. So Pacific's midfield is a little bit crowded or deep, maybe we should say. But
well, I think, okay, what I would counter with that is there's lots of competition for spots now. Like, I think about, last year, you think about kind of like Victor Blasco, Josh Hurd. Now you throw in a player like that, like Ollie Bassett. Like, it just kind of, for me, I think it's a great thing because you can create those competitions, especially, Victor Blasco, classic example, he can play across the front 4, I believe. Or maybe not on one wing. He usually doesn't play on the right, I think. But like, I don't know. Like, there's, or he does play on the right. There's so many different, configurations in competition, right?
Yeah.
Interesting to ask Paul about that.
Yeah, maybe we should do that. Future podcast opportunity.
Yeah. Okay. Put that in the doc. Okay. And then the final one, kind of the big one though, really from the week, was David Edgar returning to Forge FC as an assistant coach to Bobby Smirniotis. That was quick.
Yeah.
Retired in December, back in Hamilton, just down Highway 6 from Kitchener, in his hometown. Do you have like a favorite moment from David Edgar's CPL career? Because, it's funny, like you look back, I think he played maybe 18 to 20 games, something like that, won 2 championships, had that deep run in CONCACAF League. Obviously that ended with that game against Marathon, which was like one of the most surreal post-game press conferences and interviews I think that I've ever seen. That
was amazing.
And I shout out to, David's an incredible speaker and an incredible person, right? We've talked to him a bunch of times. But do you have like a specific memory or anything from his CPL career? Because it was short, but it was quite successful.
Yeah, I don't know how many specific memories. I remember it was really, really cool when he first signed for Forge in that summer of 2019. And I think maybe like it might have been his first game with the club was in CONCACAF down in Guatemala. And it was just immediately really cool seeing this guy who obviously has been around the block with the national team to these Central American countries all the time, just kind of stepping into this new locker room and kind of taking charge, right? Him and Kyle Becker together, just being like, all right, here is the deal down here. It's really difficult. And just having that presence immediately seemed to make Forge like so much better defensively, just way better immediately as soon as he was there. And it was just really, really fascinating to see that just immediate impact from a guy.
And people tend to forget how shaky Forge was in defense in the spring season and then going into the fall before David joined. Like it made a huge difference for that team going down the stretch, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A massive difference. I just keep thinking about that Marathon interview. There's I tweeted the quote, but he moments after his final game, he went into the post-game press conference and said, okay, well, I guess I can say what I want now, and proceeded to say some interesting things about CONCACAF refereeing, which there's some very fun quotes.
It was amazing. Just immediately coming off the bat and being like, well, I guess I'm retired, so I mean, I don't have to beat around it.
I'm officially off the clock.
Is asking our questions for us in far more direct terms, which was awesome.
Yes, a great way to go out, and happy to see him back in the CPL. Okay, Jordan Webb, Atletico Ottawa, coming up now.
Are announced now, right? So I could be calling out Bear Man.
Yeah. Finally.
As this now.
Okay, we're joined by Jordan Webb of Atletico Ottawa. Let's start there. So this is something we had a similar conversation with Chris Manella when we had him on. Like, you know, you're there with a bunch of players that haven't been announced yet, and there is still, we teased it earlier on the podcast, there is one or two that are still yet to be announced. Brian Wright.
How you guys doing?
So Brian Wright has been announced, thankfully.
Yeah.
Well, how's it been to be? And I'm going to ask Brian this question too. You had to, like, you know, you have to hide players. You have to act like they don't exist.
Yeah.
How's that been? Can't post on social media.
Annoying. Honestly, it was kind of first because like when I came, like I was ready to tell everyone, like show everyone that I'm at the club or whatever, and you know, post pics and you know, get feedback, whatever it is. And like I couldn't do any of that for a good 2 months, 3 months. Like I saw honestly signed like a long time ago, like in November.
Yeah,
a long time ago. And then I couldn't do anything. So even me leaving Singapore, like making that decision, like I couldn't really say like what team. I couldn't like give the people a proper goodbye or nothing like that. It was just kind of, it was kind of whack. But I mean, it is what it is.
You're here now. Brian, what was it like to sign with Ottawa? So we didn't have any questions prepared for you.
Only here for a little bit, but I'm happy to be back home. It's been a while since I've been back in Canada playing competitively, and obviously about to live in Canada again. So, being like 3.5, 4 hours away from home is nice. So friends and family can come to games or come see me when they please. You know? Obviously, last year was tough being in America and COVID happening. Like no one could really come out and visit, but it's definitely this year is more fortunate for that.
Mm.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
So what was it like being, like you kind of mentioned it there. You were in Birmingham, right? In the South? Birmingham, I think is how they pronounce it. So what was like that shutdown like down there? I couldn't imagine COVID treated, you know, that part of the US very well.
Well, at first, like when the whole world stopped, everything stopped. So when the leagues started, like some teams got a game in, and then the following week, 2 days before our first game, they said like 30-day suspension of the league. And then before you know it, like everything just kept getting pushed back. And like it was at first for like the first few months, it was shut down. But then slowly they started opening back up. But obviously like we were told to still kind of stay in like a bubble kind of thing and stay at home as much as possible. Like you need to go anywhere, just like go there and come straight back home. So
yeah. Jordan, were you in Singapore when all that happened?
When was it?
When
March. Like last March, April.
Yeah. Well, I was in games. Like we had played about 4 games in Singapore, and then that all happened. And then I got to come back home though because like obviously everything got shut down. So then I was like, I asked them if I can leave. You know what I'm saying? Because I was pretty cool with my chairman and my coach and all that. Allowed me to leave. So I came back home for a few months.
Excellent. Okay, Brian, we'll have to get you next week. We'll talk to you soon.
I don't want to hijack.
No, that's all right. It's just it's hard with the framing. It's hard with the framing. I want to do you justice.
Yeah. You know, gotta do something different. I don't know if the other teams can do something like that. You know what I'm saying?
No, I don't think they can either. Okay, so we got to ask about playing in Singapore for as long as you did. Maybe first off, how does a Canadian, like we were just talking before, you know, play with the Toronto Lynx, you know, play with York Region, you end up in Singapore. How does that happen? And then how do you and why do you stay for that long?
Okay, so it happened because my cousin Anthony Bahadur, he was, what did he do? He got like a trial out to Singapore, and then I was in school in Iowa at the time, and then he made a team which was called Sengkang Punggol, and then he messaged me. He's like, "Yo, Jordan, I think he can come play out here. So like, you know, I'll send you money and you can come." Because I didn't have money at the time, right? Like stuff for me. So he was like, "Yeah, just come out." And then I was like, I wanted to do the whole MLS route thing, you know that whole thing that was happening, because at that time that's when everything was just picking up. You know, it was like 2009. So I was contemplating on that, and I told him, all right, you know, because I wasn't really keen on school. Like, you know, school's not for everyone. You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't really my thing. And then so I said, yeah, I'll just go. So I went home, and then when I went home, that's when I played for about a month or month and a half, like, or two with the Shooters and with GS United. And then he sent me the money, and GS United, their like chairman guy helped me. He gave me some money as well, and then I went on my way out there, and then that's how I got there. And then yeah, that's pretty much how I got there.
And then you were there, I guess, like 10 years.
Yeah, since
That's like about 2010.
2010 I signed, and I left 2020.
Yeah, I mean, like what was it once you got over there that you just kind of ended up staying for that long? Because it's kind of amazing for a kid to go to Singapore. It's like so far from home, and then just stay there for so long, right?
I mean, honestly, everybody has different goals. Like some people want to go play in the Prem, or not obviously, like for me, like I didn't know if I wanted to be a soccer player or not at the time, so when I went out there, like, and I've never had money, and it was tough for me sometimes, obviously growing up. So like at the time when like I first got my first pay, like my first contract, it wasn't that much money, but like it was more money than I ever got in my life in terms of, because I never worked a job, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So like when I first got my first paycheck, I'll say it, like I was getting like $800 my first year, but that was like for like 4 months. And then yeah, at the time I was just like, yo, I wanna play professional. So that was the whole goal, right? And then obviously when my second year, I wasn't even supposed to be on the team. Like they low-key wanted me out. But to tell you the truth, like I had it, obviously when I'm coming from Canada, going to Singapore and trying to go play in a professional setting, like it's totally different. You know what I'm saying? Like now you're a foreigner, you're one of 4 foreigners, and your job is to be even better than the locals, and you have to do good all the time. Mm-hmm. So like I had a tough time in the beginning with that, and on top of that being away, so I wasn't even supposed to be there the second year, but luckily the management already signed me for 2 years. So then my second year, that's when I kind of blew up. And then when I blew up and I became like I got better, and like I don't know if it was just because I was a bit more experienced, because 1 year to another year it matters, right? Because playing games, that's how you get better. So like my second year I blew up, and then like from then I was kind of like what was it? I was like content with being there at that moment. But then my goal was like, okay, I want to go from being here to being on the best team in Singapore and playing in like Champions League and AFC. So then when I went from Hougang and I got bought by a team called Home United, and then I went to one of the better teams in Singapore, and that's when I won the cup, and I got to play with like international player. I got coached by a player that used to play for South Korea, Lee. He was like, someone who helped me in my game and all that. So my goal was like, okay, now I want to go. That was my goal at the time. I was like, okay, I want to play for the best team. I did that. And then when that happened, and I finished my year with Home United, the Singapore national team, they wanted me to become Singaporean. So that's when it was like, now I'm there now I'm going to be there for the long haul. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I was going to go and become a Singaporean. Like that was the goal. That was like I was under like the foreign talent scheme in Singapore, and I was playing with the youth national team in the league. So I was there for 2 years. So that was like that was going up to my 5th year there. So then that was why I was staying for, like, that was the goal. Was like, okay, I'm going to become Singaporean.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that was my thing at that time. And then obviously I was just like, after that, I got like a bigger contract by Warriors. I was like, there's no point in me wanting to go back home or go somewhere else. So I got signed by, it was Tampines, and that's when I met like Jermaine and Billy. So then it was like, yo, like, why I'm going.
Yeah, we got to ask about you playing with Jermaine Pennant.
Yeah. Oh no, I just decided to stay because I was playing in a high level in terms of playing in the AFC and Champions League and all that, right? So there was no point in me really going anywhere, even though offers were coming from different places around the region and all that. So Yeah.
And then this is also, you're also playing in Asia and you're living in Asia. Like, is there anything to that appealed to you and maybe still does? And like, obviously, like you said, you get to play in AFC, you get to travel. Like that's a once in a lifetime thing too, right?
Yeah, it is. I mean, there wasn't, after being there for so long, it became my second home. Like I had friends there, like all my friends, like a lot of my friends were there. Like I was pretty much there my whole 20s, right? So like my life was there in a way. I was there from January to November. You know what I'm saying? And in Singapore, it's not like Malaysia or Indonesia or those other countries. It's kind of like being in Toronto or something. Diverse. It's multicultural. Like it's nice. So, I mean, I was pretty happy, and I was content, because a lot of people always ask me why didn't I leave, and I was like, I don't know. Like I was playing on the best team in Singapore. Got to play with like the internationals, play AFC, play with big players too. It's not like I'm playing with like not good foreigners or all that. Playing with decent, like really good players. So yeah, I don't know. It was just it's just a nice city to be in and all that. So yeah.
These AFC Cup games though, like they're fascinating to me. Like just looking at some of the places you went out to, like Cambodia and Malaysia and all these kind of places. Like or any of these places, like do any of them kind of stand out as like once in a lifetime places that you kind of weren't expecting to be as cool as they were? Or, I don't know. There's gotta be some like cool stories in just all of these,
definitely
all of these places you went to, because just looking down the list, it's wild.
Definitely stories. I don't know if it's
okay. What's the most common one you tell that's friendly, broadcast friendly? What's the first one that comes to mind that is broadcast friendly?
I think like I've been to Vietnam, Myanmar, Cambodia, Indonesia, Thailand.
Like Myanmar must have been quite interesting. Yeah, like Vietnam as well. Like, yeah, what's the process to get out there, and then what's it like?
So I mean, pretty much it's the same. Like you go to your, the plane. You go on the plane. Boom, you go to the Vietnam, wherever we were in Hanoi. We got up from Hanoi, and then we go to the hotel. Oh, I have one story. Found one.
Okay, there we go. I was trying to lead you on to pick a story here.
So 2016, I was with Jermaine and Billy on the Japanese team, my Japanese team at that time. We went to India and we played. We were playing Mohan Bagan. It was an AFC game. So we were in the hotel and we weren't allowed to go out of the hotel because they said it was kind of bad at the time or something like that. So we had to stay in the hotel. Me and Jermaine and Billy, like I think it was it might have been me and Jermaine live in rooming. So we went into the hotel, went to our beds or whatever. Tell me how there was bugs in the bed everywhere. So we ended up, like, I literally ended up sleeping outside in the hallway. Like,
before a game.
It was that bad. It was crazy. We was like, yo, what are we doing in, like, what is going on right now? I'm not saying India is a bad place. I'm just saying that was a bad place. Like, that was a bad little situation we had there. You know what I'm saying? That little hotel. That was a little fun little. There's many more fun stories with them guys, but
definitely. Well, Ottawa fans will have to, if we've got games in stadiums this year, I'll have to stop you and ask for a couple off the record. Oh, sorry, was that Billy Mehmet? Was that who you were referring to there? Who is the Billy?
Billy Mehmet, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because he played at a high level as well.
Yeah, very high. Very high.
Yeah. I mean, and now you're kind of coming back to Ottawa quickly. There's a lot of players in the CPL that have very similar stories to you. It's like, hey, like I've never been able to play in front of my family. And like, that's such a important thing to do while you can. So, talk about coming back to Ottawa and coming back to Canada, and why now?
I mean, I've been playing away for so long, it's like been such a long time, and I've improved my game. Like I was pretty much at the top of my game when I left, and my family has never really seen me play. They've seen me play a couple games because I flew out my sister and my nieces. I flew them out to come to Singapore to experience a different side of the world, right? But yeah, like I've always wanted my mom and my aunts and my friends to see me play and like be back home. So like that was 100% like a big reason why I wanted to come back. So it was just happened to be that Ottawa was one of the teams that hit me. So it was and obviously being that they're like backed by Atletico Madrid and stuff. That was like a big reason to come back. And then obviously the wife and everyone like my wife also like coming back and trying to work with that. Work with that.
Mm-hmm.
Far away from each other is tough. Yeah, like those are pretty much the reasons. And then leaving Singapore, like it was hard because like when you're somewhere for so long and then you become like, I was probably like one of the best players out there, you know what I'm saying? Like and my coach at the time, Gavin Lee, like he helped me so much to improve my game. And like I could have stayed there and been been able to play at the AFC and all that even more and build my name up even more over there.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like, will my family get to see that? Like they only probably get to see that on the TV, and it's not even like Canada shows AFC games.
Mm-hmm.
So like I wanted my mom, like 100%. I wanted my mom to see me play while I was still good. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's always that, right? Be like a bum back.
Hitting the stride at the right time. Charlie, anything else you wanted to ask or add to this? There's a lot to dive into.
Yeah, I mean, nothing's really coming to mind. But,
well, let's wrap it up. So you're in Madrid now. Did you ever expect to be where you are? We were just talking before about being with like Atletico Madrid's like training facility. Like, what's that been like for you? Each player seems to have a different mentality about it, but like, obviously special, right?
I mean, yeah, for me, man, I mean, it's obviously it's great to be like, to be in these type of facilities and to experience it and all that, but honestly, I just want to play, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just want to play soccer. So I'm happy when I'm playing soccer. It doesn't really matter where it is, to be honest with you. But we're going to be going to the Atletico Madrid facilities. We're going to be going to like the dorms where all the academy guys are. And now we're not going to be in the more. So that's going to be quite of an experience, you know what I'm saying? Getting to see some of these young guys who probably might be playing for Atletico Madrid in the near future. That'll be kind of dope. But I mean, here it's I never really thought I would be in Spain, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Or so. I mean, getting obviously, because I do traveling so much throughout my career, so it's nice to get out and see what these people are like out here. That I'm experiencing, like just meeting different types of people, trying to learn Spanish, which is hard. Like I have the hardest time trying to talk to people. It's so hard. There's another guy that surprisingly knows Spanish, but I don't know if I can say his name because he's he just
okay. Yeah. Okay, that's a good enough spoiler for us. Okay, Jordan, thanks so much for the time. We really appreciate it.
No problem, man. Thank you for having me, man.